Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first episode of Butterscotch Rewatch. My name is Katie. I am the Gen X mother of this group.
And
with
I'm
me-
Ireland, and I am the Gen Z daughter of the group.
So you're getting a mother-daughter duo on this one. So what we're going to do is the purpose of this podcast is to revisit some really fun movies that I've watched growing up as a kid. You know, the Gen Xers, we've grown up with a lot of these movies, and most likely we have shown our children these movies at one point in their life.
Yeah. Whether you're forced to or not. No, I'm just kidding.
You were
Then you learn to love them.
So our very first episode, we are going to review Labyrinth. Yay! Yay! So this movie was made in 1980. It was directed by Jim Henson. It was his last movie before he had passed away in 1990. It does star David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly. It has wonderful music that was all written by David Bowie. He sang almost every single song on this soundtrack. So let's go ahead and get started with some reviews.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. The first thing that I noticed before even the movie even starts, right? We have our intro. We have lovely David Bowie introing us to this lovely movie. And the first thing we see is this very interesting looking owl, right? And we looked this up and it said that it was what? The first of, do we remember?
Yes, it was the first computer-generated animal ever on film.
Yeah, that's insane. I literally told my mom, I was like, do you remember watching the Barbie movies? Because that was huge when I was little and that was the big thing. And that owl literally was the same shape and looked exactly like Bibble, like the fuzzy blue character with the pink polka dots on him from Barbie Fairytopia. That's exactly the shape and form that Bibble looked like. So
I believe
that was all right.
you did call him Bibble when you first
Yeah,
saw him.
Bibble.
You're like, is this Barbie
Not Sarah,
Fairytopia?
Bibble.
It's like, this is not Barbie Fairytopia.
No, love it.
So we do get our very first scene is of course the owl, and we cut to a young girl running through a park in a costume, and she starts reciting words from a book. Through dangers untold and hardships unnumbered, I have fought my way to the Goblin City beyond, or the Goblin Castle beyond the Goblin City, whatever the words, I can't even remember them. And she gets to one part and she cannot remember the last line of the whole chant. So she's like, darn it, I forgot it. Looks in her book and she's like, oh, there's the words. You have no power over me.
That comes back later.
It does come back later. So let's remember that she always has trouble remembering those last few words. So it starts raining, and this is, of course, Sarah. Sarah realizes, oh no, I'm late. I need to go home. She's got her cute little dog Merlin with her. Adorable. And they're running through the rain, getting home. And one of her favorite lines to say is, it's not fair. So they get to the house,
and first of all, stepmom, she is saying, hey, Merlin, you gotta go to, I don't know, garage, shed, get out of here. Merlin's gotta go outside. First of all, if you're not letting your dog inside, that's a red flag. Yes. That is the cutest little dog. You're letting Sarah and her muddy paws, and I'm saying her paws, she got those muddy boots on. She's just not even gonna take her shoes off. She's gonna run upstairs to her room on that nice white carpet and ruin it, and you're not gonna let Merlin ruin your carpet? Okay, red flag. But homegirl is running up these stairs and she's just kind of throwing a fit in her room. Again, it's not fair. Everything's unfair. I hear this all the time already. And now she's telling me it's unfair to live in this, I don't know, probably 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, beautiful house in the city after she just came from the most scenic park I had ever seen in my life. And it's unfair for her to be in her own bedroom with a balcony / like bay window area that the windows open. And that's unfair.
Okay. Yeah. And she also has to watch her baby brother. So
freaking Toby.
Because she obviously had very important things to do on that Saturday night too. LARPing was one of them.
Yes, live action role play if you don't know what that is. But this girl is literally in full costume LARPing. in
Yeah.
the outside. But anyways,
Great costume, by the way.
yeah,
Um,
beautiful flower crown.
yes. So she's pouting in her room. It's not fair. I have to watch my baby brother. You guys always go out. And the parents are like, we never go out. We always make sure you don't have plans. I mean, she's 14. What is she doing?
Right.
She's not staying out after dark. At least I hope
LARPing in
not
the
in
park with
1986.
Merlin.
Putting on her, makeup and everything and just, playing around in her room. And they start panning down, through her room. And you see all these like stuffed animals and like a music box with like a ballerina or a princess inside of it. And then it does pan to a scrapbook, which has her mother in it. It looks like her mother was an actress or a Broadway actress, fell in love with her co star. And that's why she's no longer, with the family, that Sarah lives with her dad and stepmother. And if you look closely, the man that she left Sarah's father for is David Bowie. So
So
that's just a little, if you didn't notice that was there. So
this
yeah,
is a movie where however many times you watch it, I feel like you're always finding something new that you're looking at or realizing something new. So very cool on Jim Henson's part.
yes, yes. So she's putting on her makeup and she realizes she looks backwards and she's like, oh my goodness, my bear Lancelot is missing. Okay, so before we get to Lancelot missing, she blames her baby brother Toby. Toby is somehow this maybe 1.5 year old, maybe just 1 year old. I don't know exactly how old he
Yeah,
is.
1.5 at the most. Full
Has
on.
climbed 7 feet to get this Lancelot bear that was in this, little
It's a
cubby
shelf.
of the
Yeah.
shelf. Yeah, it had all her stuffed animals and there's just the one missing. And so you took Lancelot. You took Lancelot. And of course she goes into Toby's room, which is the mom and dad's room. And she notices, that the bear's,
Her Lancelot is on the ground next
he
to
is
the
on the
crib.
ground.
And
Mhm.
she just starts, this is not fair. This is not yours, blah, blah, blah. First of all, mans can't even talk. So who is stealing Sir Lancelot? You're expecting me to believe he's jumping on your bed because it's next to her desk or her bed or whatever. He's jumping, he's scaling the walls. He's picking that exact bear, which is in the middle of the shelf, by the way. Literally scaling, grabbing it, being like, oh yeah, Sir Lancelot, you're coming home with me, buddy. And then he crawled all the way back or walked, I don't know, crawled all the way back to his parents' room, made himself get back in his crib, but then left Sir Lancelot on the floor. Okay.
I find it very hard to believe that either one of the parents took this bear knowing how Sarah is with her things. Don't
Mhm.
touch my things. I mean, she's a normal teenage girl. Don't touch
Yeah.
my things. I mean, I think we were all that way when we were teenagers. Don't touch my things. It's my
Especially
thing.
when you have a younger sibling,
Yeah.
because and it seemed like maybe that this was the new baby between the stepmom and the husband,
Yeah.
so I feel like maybe there was some jealousy there, but that's just, she also still doesn't have to be a brat. So,
Right.
I'm validating her feelings, but also,
She's
girl,
calmed down a little bit. Yeah.
calm
Yeah.
down just a little bit. It's not Toby's fault. He was literally 1 years old. Like, he's not the one messing
That
with
took
you.
Lancelot.
Right, right. Sir Lancelot got up. It would be more probable that he got up and walked himself.
Yeah. And to mention the entire time that all of this is going on since she's walked into the house, Toby has been crying nonstop. Nonstop. The parents have left. They're like, bye, peace out. We're out. We don't care if the kid's screaming. He's in his crib.
Peace.
And she's obviously trying to hold him and console him and be like, it's okay. Come on, stop. And of course, she gets extremely frustrated. And then she's like, don't make me do it.
Girl, she said, "Do not make me turn you into a goblin." Girl,
Yeah.
too late. That baby has been crying this whole time. He is already a goblin. Okay?
He is.
Toby is already equals goblin. All right?
He's already there.
It's too late. We've passed the threshold.
Turn this child back into a human, don't turn him into a goblin.
Yes, but he is trying to get this man or this baby to stop, right? And obviously she's frustrated and just again saying like, "Don't make me do it. I don't want to do it, but I will." Blah blah blah. And she's literally saying all of these things, like repeating, like, "I wish that you." What did she say?
She says, Goblin King,
Mm.
wherever you may be, take this child far away from me, or something to that extent.
And while this is happening, our little goblin friends cut to a different frame of our little goblin friends. We finally get a little taste of Jim Henson with his like puppeteering and things like that.
Mhm.
But these ugly, amazing goblin puppets are like, oh my god, yes, is she gonna do it? Finally, please let her do it while she's reciting these things. But she's not saying the right words.
And so she makes that big spectacle of Goblin King, wherever you may be, And she tells prior to this, she tells Toby how she's going to tell him a story of how the Goblin King fell in love with a girl and gave her special powers and would do whatever she wanted. And then she says the whole production, and nothing happens, of course. And then of course one of the goblins is like, all you have to say is, I wish the Goblin King would take this babe, would take
Mhm.
you far
Yeah,
away.
tonight.
Yeah, I don't remember what the exact
Yeah,
words are, but, it was very simple, like, "I wish the Goblin King would come and take you right now." That
yeah,
it was very simple,
yeah.
and so nothing happens, of course, just the thunder and the lightning, and she's like, "Fine," she lays him down, and she's like, "Okay, whatever," and she leaves, and she's like, "I really wish the Goblin King would come and take you away right now," and
Mm.
then she closes the she turns.
Yep, clocked. And do we hear baby Toby screaming anymore?
Nope.
No, we do not.
Nope. So she's a little worried there. She's like, Toby," and then she sees some
Yeah,
squirm. She sees a little bit of squirming, and I would probably just go, "Nope, just run your own.
absolutely.
You're on your own, girl.
Same.
Sorry, Toby, you're on your own. You were able to get Lancelot from 7 feet in the air. You can handle this Goblin
Right.
King. You got
Hey,
this.
everything good in here? Okay, great, because I'm gonna be over there.
Call me if you need me."
Yes. But as this is all happening, she's kind of poking around in the crib, again, seeing that little squirming, but then obviously she lifts the covers. Toby is no longer there. And then we get one of the best entrance scenes of all time when all of these little goblins are running around, but she's not the one seeing them. They're just panned for the audience. And then eventually, lo and behold, in all of his beautiful glory, is Jareth, the lovely David Bowie, in the little bay window area of Sarah's room.
Well, the whole time these little goblins are, hiding in the hamper and all that kind of stuff. We see that bird in the beginning, the owl, and
Mhm.
he's like rattling on the window when we're like, oh, there's just so much chaos going on with all this nutsiness. And then, like Ireland said, it just opens, and then you just hear some music, and you just see the shadow of David Bowie, like she said, in all his glory, looking
Beautiful.
lovely, lovely in his costume. And this was our introduction to the Goblin King. And of course, Sarah sees him and she's like, "You're him. You're the Goblin King."
Mhm.
And, he's like, "Yep." And
Yeah, in all his glory, he's like, "Well, you girl, you summoned me. You wanted me here, you called me, right?" And she again is like, "Oh, it's not fair. Give me back my baby brother. It's not fair. It's not fair. Girl, didn't you just summon him to the Goblin King 2 seconds ago?" Okay. And basically, he does this thing where he has his little beautiful crystal, I guess it's a crystal ball?
yeah,
Glass
they're called
ball? Crystal
crystal,
ball?
crystal balls.
And he's just like, well, if you ever want your baby brother back, we can make up some kind of deal. However, if you cannot get him back in that time, then you
He
got it.
becomes a goblin. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Too
I
late.
mean, it's yeah, it's literally he comes in and he turns from the owl to this, David Bowie, and she's like, "I want my baby brother back."
Mhm.
Like she's asking for like some Chili's ribs or something.
Yeah,
And
baby
he's
back,
like
baby back, baby back.
he's like, "I want my baby back." And he's like, "No. You
Yeah.
literally 5 seconds ago said like every word possible to get him to go away. And then you finally said the actual correct words. And
Mhm.
I took him away for you. Look what I can offer you instead. These crystal balls that can, if you turn it one way, can, grant your heart's desire,
Mhm.
um, or something to that extent. I'm
Yeah,
sure people are yelling right now. That's not what it is.
they're
Uh,
screaming right now.
but something to that extent. And she's like, "Nope, but I really want my baby brother back." And he's like, "Don't piss me off." And
Yeah.
he turns one of the crystal balls into a snake and he literally throws it at her through her
Desert
neck. And it
deserved.
turns into a handkerchief or a shawl thing. And
Yeah.
she's like, and then it ends up being one of the little goblins. So, she's like, "Nope, still need my baby brother back." And he's like, "Okay, let's cut to the scene where we're in like a desert area with a clock.
So yeah, it's like Salvador Dali up in here, the persistence of memory. I was like, "Oh, what's going on here?"
So the clock is 13. Instead of 12, it goes to 13. And he says, you have 13 hours which to find your baby brother in the middle of the labyrinth in my castle. And if you can get him back within that time, you can have him back. If not, he will turn into a goblin. And then, he's like, just kind of disappears and says, what a pity.
Yeah.
You know.
And she's up for the challenge. She's
Mhm.
like, "Okay, well, we're gonna start going crazy. That's fine." And then she starts going into what we know as now that labyrinth, which is just a big maze. And she's going in, and does she meet our favorite right away?
She does.
Okay, so one of the best entrances, besides Jareth, of course, but one
Yeah.
of the most comical entrances I've ever seen. I remember seeing this very vividly when I was like 8 years old, when I think I first saw this movie. And we walk in, or Sarah walks in, stumbles into the beginning of the labyrinth, and lo and behold, Hoggle, our lovely man's, is taking a big leak in the pond.
That he is. He's just there. Yeah. And she's like, "Excuse me?" And he's like, "Sorry,"
Sorry.
gets himself situated. And then he turns around and he goes, "It's you." Like he was expecting her,
Mhm.
like she's another Sarah. I know there's some speculation that she's not the first Sarah, that there were other Sarahs before her.
Mhm.
I'd love to hear if anybody knows of any of that, that
That is true.
speculation. That would be a really cool story to know if that's true. But yeah, we meet Hoggle. We love Hoggle already. I
We do.
mean, he's great. He's voiced by Jim Henson's brother. Great character. Great character introduction. And he goes, "Oh, it's you." And then he starts killing some fairies. Just spraying them with some
Yeah,
like,
he's literally spraying them with
yeah.
some, I don't know, it reminded me of the fart gun from Despicable Me. I don't really know. It just like seems like it was just like a puff of air. And then Sarah's just like, "Oh my god, you poor thing," picks up a fairy, right? And she's like, "Why are you killing these poor beautiful creatures?" And then she gets bit by a fairy, and then she's like, "Oh, come on, get off of me," or whatever. And Hoggle's like, "Uh-huh, girl, that's exactly why I was harming those fairies, okay? Not everything is as it seems." And we kind of have that theme followed in throughout the whole rest of the film.
And she keeps trying to get his attention, like, I need to get into the labyrinth. I need to get to the middle of the labyrinth. I need to get to the goblin city. I need to get to the castle. And she's like, "Why are you not helping me?" And he's like, "You're not asking the right questions." And then she's like, "This is so frustrating. Everything's so frustrating here." And then she finally says, "How do I get into the labyrinth?" And he says, "That's the right question." And he's like, "Right through those doors." And then these sparkly wooden doors just open up for her. And she just enters the labyrinth. And the doors close, and Hoggle's on the other side, still killing some fairies. And so we begin our labyrinth journey.
Yeah, so Sarah's just kind of making her way through. She just kind of, I mean, she's just blindly, walking through. And as she's going, and does she meet our lovely bestie, the worm, yet?
She runs both sides. When you look at it, they look exactly the same. They look like they go on forever. There's like uh, logs everywhere and branches hanging, and
Mhm.
they both look just like they go on forever. And she's like, "Okay, well, maybe I'm not looking at this correctly." And she starts running, and she runs for maybe about a minute.
Right.
She's like,
And she's already
"Whoa."
gassed, which honestly, same.
She's already like, "Oh, it's not fair. This goes on
Yeah.
forever. I'm never
This
gonna
is
do
going
this."
on forever. I'm like, girl, you took 7 steps. Are you good? Like, I think that you bit off a little bit more than you could chew, but girl, that's okay. Me too.
And then she just like she goes like puts her back to the wall, and this is another great character entrance. Very small character, but one of my favorite characters as well. In this is, and who do we meet?
The icon, the worm, in all of his glory. Okay. And we just hear him go, "Hello." And she goes, "Did you just say hello?" Because again, nothing is like it seems, right? And she's like, "Girl, are you a worm? Did you just say hello?" And he goes, "No, I said hello."
And they begin talking about. She's like, "I need to get through this labyrinth," and he's like, "Come inside, meet the missus, have some tea." And she's like, "Oh, I don't have time for that right now." Like she was going to entertain the idea. We all
Mhm.
know that's not going to happen.
Right.
And so she's like, I need to, there's no turns, there's no anything. It just goes on forever." And he's like, "You're not looking correctly.
Mhm.
Nothing is as what it seems here." And she's like, "Well, where are these doors and these hallways and stuff?" And he's like, "Well, there's one right across the way." And she's like, "What do you mean it's just a wall?" And he's like, "Walk over there." So she walks over there and she sees, "Oh my gosh, I can go right or left." So
Mhm.
she's like, "Thank you so much for your help." And she begins to go one way. And he's like, "No, no, 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 that way. Don't ever
Yeah.
go that way." And without hesitation of, why shouldn't I go that way? Or should I go a different way? Or is that even the right, like, way to go? Should I go like down ways and maybe another doorway? She just goes the other way.
Yeah, doesn't even ask any questions, and the worm just goes, "Oh, well, if you kept going that way, then that would have led you straight to the Goblin Castle or Goblin City."
Yes. Straight to
So,
the
through
castle.
the labyrinth. Yeah, and
Just want to
again,
listen.
Sarah has no idea because Sarah is already running her 7 steps down to the right after she had already just made her change in her turn, and then she just continues on for a little bit.
So then we cut to Jareth, who is with Toby and all the goblins, and they're just hanging out. And of course, the baby is crying because that's what Toby does best, is cry, just like normal
Literally,
babies.
doesn't do anything else except for cry, poop, and probably eat.
Eats. So he's probably really hungry because I'm sure what they're they're eating
Yeah,
in the
the
Goblin City is
gruel,
probably not
the
very
sludgy
exciting.
gruel that they're feeding. God.
So, Jareth is trying to use his baby magic and, try to cheering up the baby. And he starts singing Dance Magic, which is an excellent, excellent
I
song. And
mean,
starts with, "You remind me of the babe." And
what
then a goblin,
babe?
"What babe? A babe with the power." "What power?" "Power of voodoo. Who do you do what? Remind me of the babe." And
Mhm.
then we get into the song and uh, everyone's dancing, goblins are dancing, Breath's dancing. This is the first time I noticed Jareth's thrusting. You're gonna hear a lot of this is the
Because
thrusting.
he does. That's one of his main character traits is just thrusting.
I feel like Jareth's codpiece of his costume is a character in itself, and we will get to that after this. We're done explaining
Yeah.
the movie. It just seems that when he with especially with this dance, he's thrusting. Like he leads with that part of his body, and he's like. He steps and he's like, "You remind me of the babe," and then he's like, "Dance, magic, dance, magic, dance,"
Oh,
and then he's like,
yeah.
"Jump, magic," with his like he's got like a little like a horse whip or something that he's
I don't know.
and it's just all kinds of confusing for someone that's a teenager and just going through some feelings. Like, I'm like, well,
Uh,
I'm having some feelings here. I don't know what these feelings are because I'm too young to have these feelings, maybe, or I'm starting to have these feelings. But it's a song and it's really cute, and he's throwing a fake baby in the air, which you could totally tell.
God, it's fake. No, but I feel like Jareth was probably your first hear me out, I'm guessing.
Oh,
Because David Bowie was probably, I mean, amazing icon, but he definitely, I feel like, wasn't the heartthrob that we think that he was. Like, I feel like he wasn't like the, what's it called? Like the generic, like, oh, that is the it, you know?
yeah, he definitely. I personally have an odd taste in men, which you wouldn't tell by
Oh,
your
sorry,
father.
Dad.
Your father's like the most like normal looking person, but for me, and I know there are people that are like, "Are you crazy? This guy has like big hair," and we all know I'm not into like the big hair bands or anything like that. So for him to have that big hair and all that makeup and the like androgyny and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff, I just was like, "My gosh, I'm feeling this. Like,
Yeah, that's
wow,
it. That's
I'm
it right there.
find this man very attractive." Not thinking that he's, double my age or anything like that. And here I
No.
am. I think that is, when I first saw him appear in the movie, that was when I was like, I want to be Sarah right now, please. I want to be her. I want
Well,
this
I
man.
wanna be Jennifer Connelly just because look at her.
I
She is
know.
stunning. She is literally like perfection, and obviously we're jealous because 1, you get to be friends with Hoggle, we'll meet Ludo, you get to talk to the worm, the icon, so very jealous. But kind of segueing off, when we're talking about the dance scene and one of the best songs in the movie, the one time that Toby finally stops crying is when David Bowie is singing and serenading him,
Mhm.
obviously. But the one thing I have that I was just kind of thinking, I'm like, how the hell is this kid standing up by himself and dancing? That is the first time I've seen I'm like, he is literally on both of his little legs, and he is standing up and dancing. So maybe he did kidnap Sir Lancelot after all. Maybe we don't know. We don't know
Yeah,
his life.
that is proof towards yes, he did.
Right.
We'll get to that court.
One for Sarah.
We'll put him through court after this.
Yeah,
Was
right.
he? Yes, there's proof. Yes. And of course, everybody's singing the goblins, and at the very end, he's like, dance magic, thrusting and dancing and everything. And then when he has the baby, he's throwing the baby up in the air. And I mean, he throws the baby up really, really well. And you can tell. I mean, you can't even get away from it. This baby is so fake. And I get it. They're just like, use a doll. We don't have time for this. We just made these
Right.
hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of puppets that are amazing. Just throw like a fake doll in there and he throws it up in the air. And
Take
then,
this bag of flour,
yeah,
actually, over
pretty
here.
much. They're like, is there a home ec class going on over here that we can grab the flour from? Perfect. Put some pajamas on it. It's great.
Literally. Oh my god, it's so funny.
And so after the song, of course, Toby's happy. He's a happy baby. He's dancing with goblins, and there's some chickens in there. And
Why not?
David Bowie, hey, why not? I mean, what a party. What a great
Everybody's
dance.
at the Goblin King.
Right. And then after that fun song, we cut back to Sarah. She's in the labyrinth again, of course, and she's using some unusual ways of trying to figure out which way to go in the lab.
Yeah, she's starting to kind of try to make her way through the labyrinth. She is being very cautious now because, of course, she's been told by not one but two people that the labyrinth is not everything that it seems, right? And she's trying to make her way through this labyrinth as we're still hearing dance magic going on in the background. But she's using her lipstick, which she's not even wearing lipstick, but I love that she just pulled that right out of her pocket. But she's using lipstick to make arrows to just kind of like reassure like that's the direction that she went originally, so then if she got stuck then she could turn around and go back. But of course, again, not everything can ever be easy, and not everything can be as as it seems. So then we have these little goblin guys that come out from the tiles that she's drawing these arrows on, and she's like whatever they're saying, right?
Your
And they're
mother was
just
a
like,
turn up or something.
your mom's a turn up, and they're literally like whispering, like kind of like not swearing under their breath, but they're like saying some words under their breath, and then they turn over the tiles, and then it is no longer visible, that arrow on the lipstick. So she's just continuing through, she's not noticing these things, and then pretty much she gets to this end part where she's looking around, she puts the last arrow on, and she knows that she's getting stuck, and she's like, I've seen this place before, like I'm just kind of right back where I was. Then she turns around and she sees that the arrow that she had just placed had been turned around already. So she knows, like, oh, man, somebody's been messing with my tiles.
And of course, it's not fair.
Never fair.
It's not fair. This place is horrible. It's not fair. So she of course is just throwing a fit, and she's just like, I just give up. Like, this place is just, forget it. I would be mad I was wasting my lipstick because that stuff's not cheap. So that would be my big word. Like, why is she wasting her lipstick? That could be very expensive. And she turns around and she sees the four guards. There are two doors, and they basically look like cards with a guy above and below. There's a blue one and a red one above and below. They're like little guys, and they're basically a riddle. She's like, how do I get through the doors? And they're like, one of us leads to the castle and one of us leads to certain death. And she's like, well, which one's which? And they're like, well, we don't know. One of the guys says, one of us always tells the truth and one of us always lies. So I know there's a big thing about this riddle and how she solved it correctly. I'm just going to assume this is the correct door. The door opens and she goes through the door. She's like, I'm finally getting the hang of this. It's a piece of cake.
Yeah, but she's falling down this tunnel, and of course, we just see a bunch of hands, which is like definitely not the creepiest thing I had ever seen in my life at that age. But she's falling down, right? And then she's like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? Who are you? And then they start making their little face with their hands, and they're like, we are the helping hands. And then they ask, they a little bit goes forward and they ask, like, would you want to go up or down? And what does this dumb hoe say?
Not the right answer.
No. If you were falling down and one of your responses to get through the door was sudden death, do you think that you would want to continue to go down? She literally says, I want to go down.
I'm already pointed that way, so I might as well just go down. And then the hands just say, she said down. And she's like, is that wrong? And they're like, Too late now.
Yeah, well, it's too late because we're dropping
No.
you.
Yeah. Because you're going down. Bye.
Mhm.
Yes. So the helping hands part, that was over 100 people that made that scene with, using their hands and then making the faces out of the hands, which was very cool.
Very cool.
Definitely a very cool scene. So of course Sarah picks down, which we all know probably not a good idea. And she just lands in this dark room. You see like light on her, and then it's just darkness. She is in an oubliette, which is basically, I think Hoggle lets us know that it is a place where they put people to forget about them. So
Mhm.
it's basically a dungeon is where she's at. So she's probably not in the place she should be.
Yeah. And this is where we kind of first really see a little bit more humanized Hoggle too, because obviously, like, he's probably been there alone for a long time, or not alone, but like, not interacting with a lot of people because everybody basically works for the Goblin King. So everybody's kind of too scared to even cross him because he's very powerful, obviously. But this is when we first start to see like Sarah and Hoggle kind of actually have some human interactions, and Sarah's just basically, again, nothing is ever fair, right? It's this labyrinth is too challenging and all of this stuff, right? But she does confront him and say, like, can you please help me through the labyrinth? Like, can you please show me the way and things like that? And then they start bonding over her beautiful jewelry, which is made up of what beautiful substance?
It's made of plastic, which
Plastic.
Hoggle is very excited. He's like, oh,
He's like,
he's like,
oh,
what is it made of?
plastic.
She's like, plastic? And he's like, oh, because he's got his little box on his belt there. And
Hmm.
she's like, okay, if you help me, I will give you this bracelet. And he's like, well, I can't promise you anything, but I'll take you as far as I can. And she's like, okay, cool. That works for me. And he magically pulls out a door and puts it up against the
Literally
thing.
from thin air.
Yeah, in here, opens it one way, it's a closet, and all these pans fall out. And he's like, oops, sorry, broom closet. Closes it, opens it from the other side, and it's a door. So they go
Hmm.
through the door, and she's like, awesome, yay, this is so exciting. And then they see a crystal ball
Hmm.
rolling down, which we all know is not good.
Yeah. But we do know it's good for us because we know that our lovely David Bowie is coming back onto the screen once again. So then basically David Bowie, again, he is not liking this whole Hoggle and Sarah thing. He's like, first of all, Hoggle, girl, what are you doing? Okay, because the whole thing is Hoggle's supposed to distract Sarah from, actually getting and reaching into the lab or the Goblin City, I guess, from the labyrinth, but he's actually helping her. And, he kind of confronts him about that, saying, like, well, where are you guys going? Like, you're gonna lead her back to the beginning of the labyrinth, basically. And
Mhm.
what does when he's talking to Sarah, what does lovely Sarah say to really just put the nail in the coffin?
Jareth asks Sarah, what do you think of my little labyrinth? And of course, Sarah replies with one of her favorite phrases, it's a piece of cake. Nothing good comes from those words. It's a piece of cake. And so Jareth is like, piece of cake, huh? Awesome. Let's up the stakes. So he points to his clock with a 13, and the hands start fast forwarding. I think he fast forwards about 5 hours, I
Yeah,
believe.
5 or 6.
And then Sarah says her second favorite phrase, which is,
That's not fair.
it's not
Oh,
fair.
girl. Yeah, and really just to make matters greater, right? Because David Bowie's already pissed off. He's like, "Oh, it's too easy for you, huh?" Right? It's turning the time. And then also he's like, "Well, you know what? To up the stakes just to make sure that I know that you guys, like that Hoggle's not leading you to where you need to be." He is in pure Jareth fashion taking his crystal ball, one of them, and throwing them down one of the little hallways that they're in the stone there, and then we see the cleaners, and it's this very scary contraption as they're going down the hallway, and it's closing in almost like an Indiana Jones situation with the boulder, and they're like, oh crap, we gotta go. So they start running in the nick of time. They end up knocking down one of the like little hallways that ends up being a door into a new little room. But my favorite part of the cleaners, right? It's the big scary thing, right? But then what do we see behind those things?
They're just little goblins on like a little bike, and they're like pew 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 pew.
Literally so small, and two of them are on each pedal. So it's literally like they're just jumping up and down like the two little
Yeah.
guys. And it's so
And
funny.
the sound of when it's coming for them is so loud and scary. It's like, "Rah!" And then after they've passed, it's just a
Mhm.
it's just so tiny.
It's so
Like,
anticlimactic, it's just so
yes, you're
funny
like,
because it's, like, very anxiety inducing. You're watching this, you're like, "Oh my god, this is crazy," and then you just see, like, the "la la 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 la." It's like if you had a guinea pig or a hamster running on a wheel and that was making your electricity, that's kinda what it looks like.
they get past the cleaners. Sarah's like, "Hold on, Hoggle. You just told Jareth that you're sending me back to the beginning of the labyrinth. I can't trust you." And he goes, "No, I told him that so that he wouldn't basically kill me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take you as far as I can."
that's all I can give you. Well, they journey through more, right? And then, like, they hear Ludo getting beat up and Hoggle just, like, sprints off. Okay.
So they hear the roar, these big roars, and they're like, so Hago's like, "I'm out." He just takes
Bye.
off running, and she's trying to like grab him, and he's like, "No, I'm out."
Bye, girl. See ya. I don't want any part of this. Pew, just kind of ventures off into the sunset. And Sarah's like, okay, what the heck, bro? Because now I'm just here by myself and I'm all hearing all these roars and stuff. So she's kind of going through and she's kind of peeking around and she sees our lovely Ludo, our big fluffy guy, basically getting terrorized by these ugly little mini shredder wannabes from Teenage Mutant
Mhm.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
With on sticks, may I add, they have these weird naked mole rat heads on them that they're literally like having them bite Ludo. And Ludo, poor Ludo is hanging upside down by a tree. And Ludo's a big dude. He's big
Mhm.
beefy. Okay. So I don't know how many of these little guys it took to get him like that. But basically, they're all torturing him, right? And Sarah's like, okay, absolutely not. I don't care if this man's gonna eat me, but she grabs a rock because a rock, randomly rolls by her, and then
Mhm.
she throws the rock and then eventually hits one of their helmets. The helmet starts spinning. Then they all kind of start to like run into each other, and kind of cause some chaos that way. Then a second rock, she throws it, and then they kind of all are just like hitting each other, biting each other in the butts with the little naked mole rats. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then eventually they kind of all got like scared off because they're like, where the hell are these rocks coming from? And
Mhm.
then they kind of scurry off, and then Ludo's just there by himself.
And Sarah, of course, he's like tied up and he's hanging. She's trying to get him down, and I think he's either roaring or trying to be scary, and she's like, "Now you stop that right now. I'm trying to help you." And then she undoes the knot. Poor guy falls down. It's like, oof.
I was
This
gonna
big-
say, not very
yeah.
gently, by the way. Mans is
No,
not graceful. She literally was
no.
like, "Oh, let me get you," and then he literally fell.
And she's like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "Ludo." And she's like, "Ludo, I'm Sarah." And I I believe he says Sarah friend. Yeah, I'm a friend. It's Sarah and Ludo together. She's like, "Do you know how to get through this maze?" And he's like, "Nope."
My favorite thing was he's like, no.
No.
He was really thinking about
He
it.
tried. I was really thinking about that. Yeah. And after they're like, "Okay, we're friends," yeah, they turn around and we see the door knockers. There's one door knocker that looks really cranky, and he's got the door knocker in his ears, and it goes down to here. And then the other guy looks a little more friendlier. His is in his mouth, and she's like, "I wonder what these guys are." And then the one that has it in his ears, he's like, "It's very rude to stare." And then you hear the other guy mumbling. She grabs it out of his mouth, and he's like, "Oh, thank you so much." And she's like, "Okay, so what do I need to do?" And he's like, "You need to knock on one of the doors. Pick a door, knock on it, and whichever one you knock on, you can go through." And of course, she picks the one with the poor guy with the mouth who just finally, after years and years and years, probably decades of having this in his mouth, she's like, gotta put it back in. And he's like, nope. And then the other guy's like, yeah, that's not happening. She has to hold his nose because he's breathing. You can see him breathing through his nose, and she holds
Aw.
his nose, and then he opens his mouth and she puts it back in, and she knocks, the door opens, and she's like, sorry. And he's like, that's okay. And she goes to the door. So when they go through the door, this leads to the forest. Sarah's going through the forest with Ludo, and then all of a sudden, Ludo just disappears.
Yeah, he
He
falls.
falls
Yeah,
down
he
a hole.
falls in through a hole. I'm like, this poor guy. The amount of times that he has literally fallen or been like snatched up and all these things, he just has the worst luck.
Mhm. Yeah. So Sarah is left alone in the forest, and she's kind of like, I don't know where Ludo is. This is weird. We cut to Hoggle. Sarah is calling for him, like, Hoggle, and he's like, I'm coming. And we
Yeah.
see Jareth, and Jareth's like, oh, where were you going? And he's like, we're just to lead the little lady back to the beginning of the labyrinth like we had
Mhm.
planned. And he's like, yeah, not
Buying that.
I don't believe he's buying it one bit. So he says that he wants to get him to give Sarah a
Mhm.
present, and he grabs one of his crystal balls and he makes it into a peach. And he says, give this to Sarah, and he's like, it's not gonna hurt the little lady, is it? And he's like, why are you concerned? You're not,
Yeah. You aren't
you know,
friends, right?
you're
There's how could you imagine
yeah.
a beautiful lady like herself being with somebody that looks like you, right? Obviously. And basically he
Mhm.
kind of gives this backhanded compliment, or not, I guess not backhanded compliment. He goes, well, if you get her to kiss you, then I'll turn you into a prince. And Hoggle's like, oh my God, Prince Charming. And he's like, yeah, the prince of the bog of eternal stench. And he's just like, wah ha 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 ha.
And of course, that's awful. That's so now everybody wants to know what this bog of eternal stench looks like because we're curiosities
Yeah,
are,
we're on the edge of our seat.
flying in our heads like, "Ooh." Yes, we're on the edge of our seats about this bog of eternal stench. Sarah continues through the forest by herself, and we run into my
Oh,
least favorite
the
characters,
fireys.
the fairies.
Dude,
Ugh,
these things,
I
I
know
know people
people.
love them, right? But when I'm seeing these things, right, it's like a baby sensory video, but on crack. Like these things are crazy. They're throwing their heads around, they're throwing their legs around, and they're just like also kind of annoying because they have those pitched
Mhm.
voices and stuff. And Sarah's basically like, girl, am I tripping out? Like, what is happening right now? Like, who are these guys? What are we doing?
Yeah, they're pulling off all parts of their bodies and throwing them, and they're like, "Hey, lady, why isn't your head coming off?" And they're trying to she's like, "Get away from me! Quit touching me!" And she grabs like one of the guys' heads and throws it, and he's like, "Hold on, you can't throw somebody
Mhm.
else's body parts." When just a second ago they were trying to pull
Right.
her head off, wondering why it's not coming off. But it's okay for them to do it. Double standard, Fireys. Not cool. Not cool.
Mind your business.
So yes, mind your business. If you guys want to throw your heads and arms and whatever body parts come out around at each other, hey,
Mhm.
your business. Have fun with it. Great. But don't judge poor Sarah because she doesn't want any part of this
Exactly.
weird ritual that's going on. So she does finally, she's like, leave me alone. And she's running away. And then she sees a rope, and she climbs up the wall, and you could see them like their heads flying up. Hey lady, come back. Hey lady. And it's Hoggle that saves her. And she's like, oh, thank God. And he's like, go away, go away. And so she's like, Hoggle, you came back for me. So she gives him like a big hug and she gives him a kiss on the
Ugh.
cheek.
And you know what Jareth said? That if she ever kisses you, then you're gonna be the prince, but not Prince Charming, the prince of the bog of eternal stench. So then, therefore, we find ourselves in the lovely bog of eternal stench. And here is my favorite line of the entire movie. Yes, when they all get there and Hoggle and Sarah, they kind of like just kind of fall by the bog of eternal stench. Then they are reunited with Ludo because we do remember that Ludo fell through the little pile of leaves or whatever the heck he fell
Mhm.
through when they lost each other the first time. And then we have the iconic line by Ludo where he just goes, smell bad. So we can only imagine how bad that bog of eternal stench smelled.
Right. Yes. And, of course, Sarah's like, oh my gosh. And all you're hearing are like these noises. You're hearing like these fart noises everywhere and these belching noises. And you're just seeing these these things spit up like green
Yeah.
spew,
Just
and it's just like
not good at
so
all.
gross, but it's like perfect. It's what the bog of eternal stench should look like. Is just this disgusting thing. And Hoggle reminds, Sarah, don't even stick, if you stick your toe in it, you're going to smell for the rest of your life. Like, do not mess with this bog of
Yeah.
eternal stench because it's some bad stuff. Yeah. So they're just trying to like stay on the shore and kind of get around it. And they come up to a bridge, and we get introduced to another fantastic
Yeah,
character.
so we get introduced to our lovely little fox guy here, and then also Merlin comes back into play, but his name isn't Merlin, it's Ambrosius. And what is our lovely fox's friend's name?
It is Sir
Sir
Didymus.
Didymus, literally an
Sir
icon.
Didymus.
And basically, they come up to this bridge and they're like, okay, they get stopped by Sir Didymus, and he literally is just like, you cannot cross this bridge. Sarah's just like, well, why can't we cross this bridge? And Sir Didymus just goes, well, you would need my permission. They just go, can we get your permission? And then he's just looking around like, sure, yeah, I guess you do. You can get my permission. So then they kind of get together as one bigger group after that.
Yeah, he calls on Ambrosius, and he's like, my trusty steed Ambrosius, and cute little dog that is probably the same dog that played Merlin comes with his little saddle, and he gets on, and then they, ride off, and they go to this one part of the bridge. So once they all can cross the bridge, Sarah goes to cross this like very, very creaky old, looks like a 2-year-old built it, possibly Toby.
Could have
I
been
don't know.
preying on our
Very
downfall since he was
possible.
one.
Him and Lancelot were building that
Exactly.
bridge. That's what they were doing. And of course, the bridge gives out, and Sarah starts falling, and she grabs a branch, and she's just hanging above the bog of eternal stench, which we know what happens if you stick a toe in there.
You're
She's,
gonna be stanky.
we've got Hoggle on one side, and we've got everybody else on the other side, like, no, Sarah. And, this is where we kind of learn why Sarah was able to save Ludo in the first place with those rolling rocks, because Ludo,
He can summon these rocks. His little secret power is that he can actually like shake these rocks, move them, and have them do basically whatever he can do.
he can call rocks. So he calls these rocks for Sarah, and they roll into the bog, and they raise up a little bit so she's able to put her feet down at least. And they make like a
Yeah,
little
they make a
bridge.
little
Now
path.
here's my only problem with this, because Hoggle made a big point, like, if you even stick like your toe in this bog, you're gonna smell forever. When these rocks are rolling, they're rolling through the bog, so they're getting covered with the bog. It's not like they're just floating like this and the top part's not getting covered with the bog. So I feel like when Sarah steps down, her shoe should be really smelly because it still has the water from the
Yeah,
bog.
probably.
And of course, this is definitely a nitpick, and like it's one of those like, all right, lady, you need to
You need to relax.
like
You need to
yeah,
calm
sure, you
down.
need to relax. This is like out of control, the things that
Yeah.
you're picking out here.
Agreed, though. Agreed.
And I'm like, but what about the rocks? And how can you do that to those
Right.
poor rocks? Now they smell. Now they're stuck
These
in the
poor
bog of
little
eternal
sedimentary
stench.
rocks are now stinky sedimentary rocks.
But they make the bridge, and everybody's able to cross the bridge. And of course, it wouldn't be the bog of eternal stench unless when everybody crossed each little rock, depending on how heavy the person was, it would make a different fart noise. So if they were heavier, it was like a louder, deeper fart noise on each rock. And when cute little Ambrosius goes across with Sir Didymus, it's like these cute little like
So good.
it's just like this cute little yes, it's very, very appropriate for the size of each
For sure.
person or animal. So so everybody continues through this forest, and Sarah's like, oh, starving. Ludo's like hungry. Everybody just kind of seems to be really hungry. And Hoggle's like, oh, hey, Sarah, I got something
And
for you.
He
What
takes
does
out
he
the
got?
peach that Jareth gave him. And basically, he gives her the peach, and Sarah's like, oh my god, you are a lifesaver. Thank you so much. You are the best. And then she takes a big old bite, and then she starts to kind of understand that she's feeling a little weird, and she goes, Hoggle, what have you done? What is this? What have you done? And then we start to pan off into what seems like a memory.
Mhm. we start hearing the beginning of As the World Falls Down, which is
Amazing
my
song.
favorite song. This is my favorite part of the movie. I hope I'm not alone in here with that being the best part of the movie. And you slowly see Jareth is in his castle and he's got the crystal balls again and he's kind of thrown each one out. One has her music box with the princess in it that turns, which is where we're going to get her
Mhm.
dress from and her look. She's just falling asleep slowly and then it turns into the whole dream sequence. I love it so much.
Amazing. Like, Sarah now is in the full dream, right? And she comes in with the most stunning hair I've ever seen. And I have 4 freaking hairs on my head because I have very thin hair. And I was always jealous of this girl's hair. She has beautiful pearls, probably Swarovski crystals dangling from her hair, beautiful barrettes, and she just looks amazing. And we were very fortunate that we
Mhm.
got to see both of these outfits in this dream sequence in person, and let me tell you,
Oh,
the
yeah.
detailing on this dress, and I know that you can see it in the movie, but seeing it like literally a foot away is absolutely incredible. So whoever made that dress, I don't know who the costume designer was or the seamstress or anything like that. Kudos to you. That is one of the best costumes I'd ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. They had the dress, Sarah's
Mhm.
actual dress, and then Jareth's outfit that's also in the dream sequence. He's very tall and very, very thin,
Could fit my left
and
thigh.
she's
Very,
obviously
very tiny. I was looking at that, I'm like, "We are not built the same."
right. But they did not forget the cod piece. That is
No, a
that is
necessity.
included in
A
this
necessity.
one as well. Yes, do not forget that. Yes, beautiful costume making, just the hair, makeup, everything in this whole sequence throughout the
Right,
whole movie, but just specifically in this, because you've got all the guests of
right.
this
It's like a
ball, and they're
masquerade.
kind of like yeah, it's like a masquerade ball, and they're all kind of like laughing, but very snooty to her, like she doesn't
Mhm.
belong, you don't belong. And it's just kind of like a cat and mouse game between her and Jareth as he's seen with like some of the guests talking and then she like looks for him and then he like somebody passes by and he disappears and then they finally as the song's going they meet and then they
Mhm.
dance together and it's you're like "Oh, finally they're together as a
Yeah, we're not
12-year-old this isn't creepy
thinking
at all
like that.
I'm thinking as a 12-year-old this is
Yeah.
12-year-old me
Wow, I'm so jealous of her, but also as adult me, I'm like, "Get away from that child."
yes I was like yeah I'm like this
R
this is not right this is not right but I mean obviously movies are different back then and it was
Yeah.
okay so apparently but yes as the young me I'm like this is so beautiful and he's singing to her and they're dancing and everything's beautiful and great and then she just kind of breaks from him and just kind of stares off a little bit and is looking around and running and sees that there's like something's not right so she takes a chair and she throws it at the wall, which is the bubble. She's and breaks it, and then everybody you just see everybody go, ah, they're screaming, they're all like falling and like raising up and going all different directions, but she's
Mhm.
falling down, and you see her fall down into a big pile of garbage, basically. So she's now awake, but in a big pile of garbage. So we get to meet another lovely
Yeah,
character.
garbage lady. She literally just has a cart of garbage. Sarah's coming out of this very lucid dream almost, so she's still uncertain and she's just kind of like, "What am I doing here? Who am I?" The garbage lady is basically wanting her to feel comfortable there because she doesn't want Sarah to go any further. This is just another diversion that Jareth is bringing to her
Mhm.
because now she's getting much closer.
Yeah. And Sarah very quickly is like, no, this is not what I'm
Mhm,
looking for. And she's like, this is garbage. And she reunites with Ludo, Hoggle,
mhm,
Sir Didymus, Ambrosius, and she's ready. Let's go. We're going to the Goblin City. So they very quickly get to the Goblin City. Goblins are sleeping, the guards are sleeping. And, Sir Didymus is like, I want to
yeah,
fight
he's, like,
too. And
banging
he's
on
like, hitting him on the
velvet.
head, like, stop we can just walk in. So they walk in, and of course, it's too
Mhm,
quiet, and the doors in front of them close and become mechanical uh,
yeah,
robot with a mace.
just
And we're trying to fight it, and then Hoggle comes to the rescue and jumps into the head where another goblin is basically
mhm.
controlling this huge robot and kicks the other guy out. He runs away, and Hoggle can't control it, and it ends up breaking and blowing up. I
Yeah.
believe it blows up. And during that time, we're cutting to David Bowie, Earth, the Goblin King, and on his throne with Toby on his lap, I believe. And this guy comes running, going, "Your Highness, she's made it to the Goblin City." And he's like, "What?
Hold it.
Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yes, she's almost here. She's almost here." And he's like, "Send out the cavalry, everybody you can." And like literally every goblin that ever existed is running to this goblin city to fight Sarah and all of them. So they're basically surrounded. And luckily we have Ludo with us. As they're fighting, Ludo uses his rock magic, and that ends up defeating all of the,
Mhm.
goblins. Don't want to go
Yeah.
into too much. It's basically just a fight. It just, silliness ensues and all this stuff. And they beat them. And Sarah finally says, like, "Okay, guys, thank you so much. I got to do
Mhm.
this on my own. I'm at the castle. This is where I need to be." So they're like, "Okay, cool. We're going to like step back." And Sarah goes into
Yeah.
the castle.
And as she's going into the castle, and not 100% sure as she gets through the castle, but she does eventually run into David Bowie. And I just know the song that plays. What is the title of that song again? I don't remember. Yes,
Within
Within You.
you.
And I love that song. And just the visuals, because now, again, everything isn't as it seems, right? And Jareth makes it very difficult for her at all times. But now everything is kind of going in all directions. You just see like the staircases that are upside down, and they're kind of he's toying with her, like that the idea of her gaining Toby is almost impossible because Toby's in one end of the little area that they're in, and then Sarah's opening doors and going to the complete opposite end when she's trying to get closer to Toby. And he's kind of playing again this cat and mouse game with this, but just the
Mhm.
visuals alone are so stunning, like as the song is playing. It's very cool.
As he's kind of watching her, because they're like, there's stairs that go up and like
Mhm.
underneath upside down, and Toby's upside down and she's upside down, and he's poking around the corners, saying each line of the song, and basically like just watching her in awe. And I felt like as a 12-year-old that he was basically singing to like a lost love or something, like, "I'm going to lose her. How am I going to live without your,
Yeah.
heartbeats? I can't live within you."
Ugh.
And I love that. And it just the way he almost whispers it, and it's just very, very cool. The whole music part of it, the words of it, and towards the end of it, we see Toby's right underneath her, and Sarah decides to jump. So when she jumps, all of those stairs and weird hallways and everything, they all just disappear. They're all flying away, kind of like when she broke the bubble in the dream sequence, and she gets to Toby, and then we hear the dun 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 dun, and then here comes Jareth in his amazing robe.
Ugh.
He's basically the human form of the owl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got like there's like bones for the collar part of it. It's great costume. His hair's got feathers in it. Very, very, very,
So
very,
cool.
very cool. I mean, it's very powerful, and you're just like, wow, this guy means
Mhm.
business. And of course, 12-year-old me's like, "Oh my God, he's so romantic." This is so wrong. This is
God.
not something this is
He's
not
like he's
romantic.
got like
This
the
man
pelvic
wants
girdle
to throw me
around his
out.
neck, and he's just like, "Oh my
Yes.
god, it's so romantic."
I'm like, this is nope,
Right.
nope. 12-year-old
Yeah,
Katie,
what are we
nope,
doing?
nope. Yeah, and he's, she starts saying her words in the very beginning, "I have made my way to the Goblin Castle beyond the Goblin City to take back the child that you have stolen." And he's trying very hard to, talk her out of it. I believe I have the actual words. These are my favorite words that he says. So I'm going to actually get out my old lady glasses and read the
Get
exact
those
words that he
cheaters,
says,
girl.
because yeah, because I think it's very important. So she starts reciting the words, and then Jareth tries to stop her with basically everything he's done for her. So he says, "Sarah, beware. I have been generous up until now, and I can be cruel." And then she's like, "Generous? What have you done that's been generous?" And he's like, "Everything. And everything you wanted, I have done. You asked the child to be taken, I took him. You cowered before me, I was frightening. I have reordered time. I have turned the world upside down, and I have done it all for you." I am exhausted from living up to your expectations of me. Isn't that generous?
A man.
And I was like, another burn from Jared. Like,
Right.
I mean, he's not wrong. Did she not say
She
take the
did.
baby? She did. He
Mhm.
took the baby. You know, did she saying, well, give me a chance to get the baby back? And what did he do? He reordered time and gave her 13 hours, even though she was cocky and he took some of those hours away when she was like,
Deserved.
piece
But
of
she
cake.
who's gonna say,
Yeah,
"Oh, it was a piece of cake." That's on you. That's on you.
right. That's on her. I feel like he's been pretty generous because I think he could have just
Yeah,
taken the baby and ran, you know?
absolutely.
So what does she do instead of going, yeah, you know, you're kind of right there. She just keeps
Yeah,
deciding the words.
exactly. She's literally just like, "Girl, I'm literally not even listening to you. I'm literally just gonna try to remember my monologue that I've been trying to remember since the beginning of this film."
And she's almost there. And then he says, I have asked for so little. Just let me rule you and you can have everything you want. I'm like,
Yeah, you
now we're
lost me.
starting to get a little like, yeah, you lost me, bro. And then she's like, my kingdom is great. And then of course she's like, shoot, my kingdom is great. And then she's like, I always forget that line. So he's like, oh, yay, she's forgetting the line. So he's still trying to distract her as much as he possibly can. And then he's like, just fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave. Okay, no.
Lost me.
Red flag, red flag, buddy. Red
Right,
flag,
right, right.
okay? No, you're not helping the
Yeah.
situation. The whole explanation prior to this about you being generous, that you were winning some points with. This is
Yeah,
a
we're back
no-no.
to square one
No,
now,
no, no,
Jared.
no, no, no. So then after he says that, Sarah's like, brain's working. She's like, looks at him straight in the eye and says, you have no power over me. And then he just like, it just seems like he just throws up his hands. Is like, well,
Yep.
shit.
Exactly.
It's over. Well, that really sucks. And everything falls to pieces. Everything is just, you know, you hear the clock strike 13 because it had 13 hours. And Sarah is back in her house, her really nice house. And it goes to the clock done striking. And it was actually midnight on her human
Yeah.
clock. And she's home and she's like, okay. And of course, what's the first thing she thinks of when she's home?
Oh, is Toby here?
Mhm.
So she's running in and she's just going to like, oh my God, I need to know if, Toby came back and all this stuff. And she actually does check on Toby and he is there. He is there in his crib just for her.
And he's
Yeah,
sleeping like a
finally
baby.
not screaming. Not screaming like a goblin. Finally
Finally not
sleeping like a
screaming.
baby. And luckily
Yes.
we still have the memory here. We still have Ludo with us, Sir Didymus, Ambrosius, Hoggle, all of them kind of. And then they decide
Mhm.
to, throw a little soiree.
Yep, she gives Toby Lancelot. She's given up Lancelot. So the whole reason for this whole thing, how it even
Didn't even
started,
matter.
she's like, okay, I'm just gonna give you the bear. This could have just all went great if she was
Right.
just giving him the bear. So she gives him the bear, comes back to her room, in her mirror, she sees in the background Hoggle, and if you should need us, just ask for us. And of course she's like, I need you all. I need all of you. I need
Yeah.
you all right now. And they're like, well, why didn't you say so? And then, like you said, the big soiree and the
I was
dang
gonna say, who
Fireys
invited
made
the
the cut
Fireys?
for a reason.
Okay,
Right. I want to know who made the
right.
guest list for that.
Yeah,
Because
who is sending out these invitations? Because I know damn well that those guys should not be
Yeah.
invited.
yes. Yes. So they're just having a great party, and she's yay, and they're dancing and everything. We see it cut to her window and the owl outside up in his wings, and he takes off into the night. As, we start hearing the words to Underground, which is another great song, part of the soundtrack. Great lyrics. It's only forever, not long at all. Comes blasting, and then we see the credits and
And that's
that.
it.
And well, that's it. That's the Labyrinth in a
I was
long
gonna say, in the
explanation.
same amount as the movie.
Pretty much. Yes, pretty much. Yeah, so very, very good movie. Great soundtrack. I had the soundtrack. I had to buy it as a CD back in the day at
Yep.
the store. Which CD store I bought it at, I don't know. It was one that no longer exists. Let's see. I do have a couple little. I did say we would get back to the Jareth codpiece.
So here we are, keeping our promise.
So very importantly, we wanted to make sure we got some things right. So these were the exact. I got a lot of this information from IMDb, Reddit, random sites that just popped up. So I don't know if these are 100% true or not, but this is what I saw. So Jareth's considerable bulge was an intentional choice made by the conception designer Brian Froud. It's Froud. So I'm assuming it's Froud. If I mispronounced it, I apologize.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, Brian. Thank you. Thank you for that. I like how it was done on purpose. That was a great intentional choice. Interesting enough, this wonderful Brian that made this lovely choice, he is Toby's father in real life, and the baby's name is Toby in real life. And Toby grew up to be a puppet
Which
maker,
is so cool.
which
I
is
like yeah, what
super
does your
cool.
resume look like? Well, I did get to work with Jim Henson. Oh, really? When? Well, when I was 1 years old and I was filming and all I was doing was screaming.
Yes, right. Yes, my job was to be a screaming baby that
Right.
everybody hated. Let's see. We did go over that the
Mhm.
owl was the very first photorealistic animal in a feature film. Michael Jackson was considered for the role of Jareth. Completely different movie. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't I don't see Michael Jackson as a sex symbol. I mean, maybe some people
I
do.
don't
I
know.
do not. So I don't think the film would have resonated with 12-year-old me as
No, and
well.
I feel like David
With
Bowie is the perfect amount of eccentric for the film, and
Mhm.
I feel like Jim
Yes.
Henson wouldn't vibe the same with Michael Jackson as he did with David Bowie. There's just no
Mhm.
possible way.
There were a lot of actresses that did try out for Sarah, but of course Jennifer Connelly won over Jim Henson, and I think he made a
Mhm,
great choice. I mean, Laura Dern, Ellie Sheedy, Jane
mhm.
Krakowski was one. Mia Sarah, who from Ferris Bueller, I think she would have been an excellent choice as well, I believe. But she did make a similar film, kind of fantasy film Legend, which I'm sure we will most likely go over that one as well, because, like I said, odd taste in men.
Yep,
Tim Curry is one of
I
my
do love
loves
Tim
as well.
Curry.
So anything with Tim Curry,
Oh, I
Clue, like you had
love
mentioned,
Clue.
we had mentioned Clue, another fantastic
Amazing,
Tim Curry and, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
obviously.
I just love Tim Curry. Wonderful.
Mhm.
Beautiful man. Too. And who else? Very young Helena Bonham Carter. That would have been
Really young.
interesting. Different. Yeah, I think that would have been a
Yeah,
different movie,
she's much more
maybe.
superior with Tim Burton movies. I feel like I can only connect her with Tim Burton.
Yeah. And I know this isn't a secret. I think most people know this fact is that that was not David Bowie with the crystal balls doing the juggling and stuff like that. I'm not going to make I'm
The
not going to make
gesture.
the hand movement because it looks like something else. So, the hand juggling with the crystal balls was choreographer Michael Motion. Again, mispronounce. I can't pronounce names. It could be the easiest name. I will mispronounce it every time. So again, apologies to this person. He had to put his
Yeah, through,
arms underneath David Bowie's armpits and do it without
which is
looking.
so
And
cool. So
awesome.
talented.
Like so cool. Yeah. So those are just some those are cute little facts about
Mm.
I do know that one of the things that Ireland and I both got to do was we got to go to a one of our local theaters out here had a showing of Labyrinth. Now what they did was they did all of the music live. So everything was done live. They took out David Bowie's lyrics, so they did not replace
You
David Bowie
cannot.
because I was like, if you're replacing this man, you can't. So they had throughout the whole movie, anything that was musical was played live. And it was really cool to see how they made some of the dream
Mhm.
sequence songs and stuff like that. And also people's reactions, like when Toby came on for the first time, he
There
got
were
so many
boos,
boos, which
yes, like, even so they, like, have somebody that comes out and warms up the crowd, right? They're like, "Are you guys ready to watch Labyrinth?" And, of course, we're all like, "Wah, yay!" But literally,
mm,
they were like, "Okay, let's hear it for the worm," and they're like, "Yeah!" And then, "Let's hear it for Sarah," and it's just like, "Okay, a little bit less," because the worm is obviously iconic. And then they basically
yes.
go through everybody, they're like, "Oh, Ludo, Hoggle," and everybody's like, "Yeah!" And then they get to Toby, and poor Toby is
How
getting
many Toby
booed, like,
fans?
collectively. I'm, like, looking around like, "Oh my god, these people really hate Toby."
Yeah. And I remember watching it, and when Jareth's character first comes on,
Huge
huge,
roar.
like
There were
huge, like
gasps in
it
the
was basically like a
crowd.
standing ovation. It was just
Yeah.
very fun to watch with live live music, and the way that everything was timed perfectly with the movie. It was just very, very cool.
All those
So
people were so talented.
if you were a person that got to witness that, it came to one of the cities near you, then I'd love to know how if you
Yeah.
enjoyed it and thought it was as great as we had thought it was. Super cool. But yeah, I mean that's our love of Labyrinth. I've been loving it since I've been
Well,
young,
me
and
too.
forced my daughter to watch it. I know, forced my children, both my children, to watch it. My son, not so much into like these fantasy movies. He's a little bit harder to
Mm.
persuade to watch these type of movies. So I just let him choose his own movies. But he's obviously older now. He's an adult as well. Both my children are
We are
adults,
adults.
so when we talk about adult things, it's okay. Both my children are adults. They're not young children.
God.
They both are legal to
Yeah,
drink, but I am making it awkward for them, as I
of
try to do
course.
every day as a mother. That is my goal, to embarrass my children. I believe the very next movie that we would like to review is Teen Witch.
Which the
So
iconic
if we
film.
have any lovers of
Mm,
Teen Witch,
love it.
please feel free to comment, give us
Mhm.
your thoughts. If you have any ideas for films you would love us to review, depending on where this even goes, our podcast even goes, we would like to get into other things like maybe series, even
I would say
music
music
videos
video
from the 80s.
series, maybe some bad reality shows, anything like that.
Yeah. But that's, obviously up to
Yeah,
everyone that listens. And there's probably two of you listening right now. So thank you. We very much
amazing.
appreciate it. If you did enjoy our podcast, one, thank you for listening all the way through. If you did, you made it.
The
Because
first
again, this is
one,
our
it's
first
gonna be
time. Our
painful, we
first
know.
one. It's gonna be terrible. Please bear with us. We will get better. We promise. But like I said, we will be back. This will be a
Mhm.
weekly show. We will be back next week with Teen Witch. And again, if you could leave us, like or subscribe, or, any kind of comments, we would, hopefully
Yeah.
positive comments. We would love to hear from if anybody is listening out there or has ideas or just wants to reminisce Labyrinth. We'd be
Mhm.
happy to reminisce with you. Yeah. So on behalf of myself and Ireland, we want to thank everybody for joining us for our very first episode of Butterscotch Rewatch. Thanks. We'll catch you guys next week.